Hey there guys, it's Tina and I'm back and I hope you guys are all doing great. So today we are talking about the brand new blushes from Pat McGrath Labs. Oh my god. So these recently launched on Pat McGrath's website. They're also available on Sephora.com and I got my hands on 4 of the shades through the Pat McGrath website. I was able to grab a 10% discount because there's always a discount code floating around, so I got a better price point on these. Plus on the Pat McGrath website you're able to pick up bundles of 3 at a discounted price, so I was able to definitely get a better deal than I would have if I'd purchased these off the Sephora website. But in this video I'm gonna go ahead and talk you through the product details, plus I'm gonna show you the packaging up close and personal, and I'm gonna give you swatches as well as a demonstration on my cheeks so you can see how these look on my skin tone. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the product details and then we'll jump into all the fun stuff. So first of all, these retail for $38. Yes, that is correct. You heard me right. $38, which is actually a price point that I expected from Pat McGrath, if I'm honest, but I prefer to see these at a cheaper price point. Like $32 would have been more comfortable, anti-Pat, and these contain 9.7 grams of product or 0.34 ounce, which is actually a pretty decent amount of product. But as mentioned on the Pat McGrath website, you're able to pick these up as trios, so you can get 3 shades for $96, which breaks down to $32 a piece, which again I was more comfortable paying. And you're able to pick up pre-made bundles, which is what I did. So I picked up the Futuristic Floor Trio, which has the brighter, more vibrant shades, but you're also able to customize your trio and pick the 3 shades that you're interested in trying out. And as usual, the packaging for Pat McGrath products are stunning. They have beautiful artwork, and this is no different. The outer box is a beautiful lavender purple with gold writing all over it, and there is a purple rose on each of the boxes. But low-key, I'm gonna say it, this box feels and looks a little bit cheaper compared to other boxes that we've gotten from Pat McGrath. And I've kept the boxes of the 10-pan Mothership palettes because they are so stunning. But with these, they feel so cheap, I can definitely part ways with these. So not the most luxurious packaging at all, especially for the price point. But anyway, you have all the ingredient details on the box as well as the manufacturing information, and this says it is made in Italy and it has an intended usage life of 18 months. Now the actual compact that these blushes are housed in is the usual black plastic packaging from Pat McGrath with the Pat McGrath Labs logo on the front, and again you have some of the little spiel on the back like blush without caution, fabulous flirtations and sexquisite seductions may result with prolonged use. Like, Auntie Pat, what are you talking about? What? And there's also a label with the shade name, packaging information, and again the intended usage life on the back. Now this is a little bit different for Pat McGrath. She has been incorporating the shade names on her compacts a little bit more often, which is something that we've called for. We want the shade name on the actual packaging, and it is here in very fine gold writing. But you can tell what shade you're grabbing if you just read the back, or you may not bother with it and just go ahead and open it up because the writing is so small. The compacts are not magnetic like her Mothership compacts or her Mothership palettes. They instead have a push button that you will use to open up the lid. But it is a tricky push button. I was struggling with opening these compacts so much I was ready to just give up. But I found out that you have to push it in a very specific way in order for it to open. So if you have nails or if you have any issues with dexterity, these are gonna be a little bit tricky. I was a little bit annoyed, but inside you have a mirror in the lid, which I wish they would just do away with and just lower the price point of these blushes. And then the blush itself is in a circular pan with an embossed rose design, which I think is absolutely stunning. But we're seeing more and more of these embossed designs on different products, so I'm not really that impressed because indie brands are giving this to us at $9 for the Mora Beauty blushes. So am I really impressed by a rose embossing on a Pat McGrath blush? Not really, but I still think it is really, really beautiful. Let's go ahead now and show you the swatches of the 4 shades that I picked up. Again, I picked up the more poppy, more vibrant shades because I think those will work better on my skin tone, but we have lighter shades included, and there are 2 different finishes. We have a satin and a natural matte finish. I ended up getting 1 shade of the satin and 3 of the matte tones. And you know I have to read the description from the Pat McGrath website, right? Because it is always extravagant. So it says here, layerable, luxurious, legendary, blush like an icon. Pat's most requested launch ever. The instantly indispensable divine blush creates a featherlight, long-wearing rush of couture color in demi-matte and satin finishes. Ultra-fine powder pigments deliver sensuously soft, brilliantly blendable application. All 9 shades build effortlessly from sheer to subversive, bare to bold to beyond, ensuring a wondrous wash of customizable color tailored to every skin tone and type. Embossed with radiant roses and sublime sun rays, this new classic is the answer to the eternal question, who makes you blush? So the product highlights are a petal soft touch, silk velvet powder, it's feather light, mistake proof application, it's buildable, vivid color purity, and again you have demi matte and satin finishes. So now that you have seen the swatches, let's go ahead and apply these to my cheeks because that's what you guys want to see, right? You want to see how these apply. I'm gonna demo these and actually do a little bit of a wear test so you and I can discover the wear time of these blushes together. So let's go ahead and jump right into that, and then I will follow up with my final thoughts. Alright guys, time for us to jump into some swatches on the face. So I'm going to apply this blush in 2 different ways. On one side of my face, it's completely bare. I don't have anything on except a little bit of moisturizer, which has sunken into my skin because I've had it on for over an hour. And then on the other side, I have foundation on my cheeks topped with a little bit of face powder just to set it down. So we're gonna see how this blush applies on bare skin and also over foundation. So we'll start out with the lightest shade that I picked up, which is Desert Rose. This is described as a bronze rose with golden pearl. So this one has more of a satin finish. There's gonna be a slight pearly shift to it. I'll apply each of these blushes with a Refer number 5 blush brush. And I'm just going to pick this product up on the brush and pop it on my cheeks. So this is the foundation side, and I picked this blush up specific. Ooh, come on in, come on in. Is this better? Yes. So I picked this specific blush up because it has a kind of nudie tone to it, and I love a nudie blush. So I was like, oh, this might be perfect. But now that now that I'm applying it, it just looks like a face powder with a little bit of glow. Can you see that? Let's apply it on the no foundation side, just over moisturizer. Maybe that will pick up a little bit better. No. Okay, so this blush I should have skipped because it is not showing up on my skin at all. At all. Can you see? You see a slight, like a slight glow, a little bit of shadowing, but it's a very, very, very subtle blush on my skin tone. It's almost exactly my skin tone. So here you have it. This is Desert Orchid. I don't know what you can see because nothing happened here. So, alright, let's move on to the next shade. Alright, next shade up is Electric Bloom. This one is described as a vivid coral, and it's a demi-matte finish. So, let's go in with the other side of the brush. Again, I have foundation on this side. Let's pop that on. I just picked up very little because just playing with these initially and swatching them, they're very pigmented. So I wanted to be a little bit more careful with this color, just in case it did way too much on my cheeks, which it kind of, you can see. Should I take my earring out so you don't see the shadow? There you go. I think you can see it a little better now. This color definitely picks up very strongly on the cheeks, and it's blending out pretty nicely. And even though it's a matte, it doesn't look dry, but it is an intense shade. And of course I'm applying a lot more than I would normally. Well, who am I lying to? Sometimes I apply way too much blush, but so you can see the color. So over foundation, it definitely shows up well. Let's try it on bare skin. And okay, this isn't applying as well anymore. Let me remove this because it's not picking up. You see it's kind of patchy on my skin. It doesn't really show up. So I'm going to remove this and apply moisturizer and wait a few minutes. All right, let's try that again on moisturized skin. So before, I hadn't moisturized my skin. I just let it air dry after I'd removed the other blush swatch. So it wasn't picking up on my skin as much, and even over moisturized skin, it is a little bit patchy. On the side with the foundation, it is really pretty. It's stunning. But after that initial result, now I'm like, hold on, let me look up close to see if there's any patchiness. And on the foundation side, there isn't. It applied smoothly, so you can see there's smooth, even color. I can still see my skin through it. It's a blush after all. It's not meant to just opaquely blank out my cheeks, right? I can still see my skin, but it's smooth and even. I think it looks very beautiful. I mean, don't mind me not blending, but you see what I mean? It's still beautiful. But then on the moisturized side, where there's no foundation, no base for it to really stick to, it kind of is a little bit patchy. So it's not as smooth, it's not as even. Right here, I don't know if you guys can see. You could probably see. Yeah, you can see. I turned the exposure down a little bit so you can see it better. But you see my skin is kind of peeking through. I don't like that. So the better application is definitely on the foundation side. So I like this color. It's a beautiful coral. I think it works great on my skin tone actually. It's not too bold and bright, even though it says it's going to be a vivid coral. It's not too intense. I think it's still very wearable on my skin tone. This side, I'm gonna see if this happens with the other two shades that we have to swatch. Oh, you went too far out. All right, so the next shade up is Paradise Venus, and this is described as a terracotta with a demi-matte finish. So again, one of the matte finish blushes. I got this one because again, I love nudie blushes, and the terracotta description really got me. So let's go in with the foundation side first. Ooh, okay. This one is not as terracotta as I would think. It is more like a nudie pinky brown to me. It's reminded me of MAC Gingerly Blush, where it's a nudie blush. I love these kinds of shades on my skin tone. It just has a slight pink to it that is very flattering. This, ooh, I love this shade, and it applied smoothly again. Let me try to blend and see if these actually blend out, and we can just blame my bad application on the other ones. Yeah, it blends out very easily. Again, this one is not patchy either, very smooth on the foundation side. But let's go in and check out the moisturizer side only, because I feel like that's an issue with this product. And would you necessarily go in with foundation on just moisturized skin? I mean, some people don't wear foundation, so that's why I want to go in with just moisturizer, just skincare, and see how these would apply. So I'm just gonna keep blending it and see what happens. All right, so for this specific shade, it doesn't show the same patchiness as the previous shade. Let me turn the exposure down again. It doesn't show the same level of patchiness. I do still see my skin through it, but I think it's more even. There's a little bit, just a little bit right here. Let me add a little bit to see if it will blend and build up over the patchiness. Yeah, there's just a slight, little bit of patchiness. It's not as smooth, and that may be due to like the texture of my skin. So maybe if I went in with a primer on this side, it would apply a little better. But I think the pigmentation on both sides, it shows up a little bit less on the foundation side because my skin is set down. It has a little bit of powder to slip over, so it's not as intense. It's more intense on this side where you have a little bit more moisture for it to cling to. And maybe that is the problem. I definitely think it looks beautiful on the foundation side. So here you have it. I think again, the moisturizer might be an issue. So after we swatched the last shade, then I'm gonna go in with like a primer instead. Still bare skin, but like a primer to see how these would apply. So here you have it. This is Paradise Venus, and we're gonna come back with the final shade. All right, so our final shade up is Lovestruck, which is described as a berry pink, and this one also has a demi-matte finish. So I only got one of the satin shades, and that one was my skin tone. So there we go. Ooh, I forgot to set this side with powder. So let me just go in with powder really quickly. Okay, now let's go in with the blush. This one I'm a little apprehensive about because it is a berry. It has more of a purpley undertone. And with these shades, I have to be careful that it doesn't look like a bruise on my skin tone. I am very careful with shades like these. But I think this gives more of a pink vibe, like a raspberry pink versus a berry, which I appreciate, especially on the foundation side. It isn't looking purpley at all. In fact, it looks very similar to the Electric Bloom shade. It's just a little bit richer, a little bit more on the raspberry side. I think that is really pretty. All right, let's try on the moisturizer side. And I'm pushing this into my skin first just to see, and then I'll just sweep it across to blend. And okay, so we're getting the same effect, I think, as the Electric Bloom side, where we have a little bit of patchiness with my skin. And I'm wondering if my skin is to blame with that. Like, am I having a little bit of issue here with products sticking to my skin? Do you see how you have color, but then you have like a patch of my skin? I don't know what's going on, so let's just focus on this side. Very pretty, very smooth again. I think the matte finish, even though it's a matte, it's a demi-matte, so it gives more of a natural look to the skin, and I think it's really pretty. Again, this one is more like a raspberry pink, so no patchiness on the foundation side, but on this side, it's a little questionable. So what I'm gonna do is remove everything and then just apply moisturizer and a little bit of primer and let it sit down, and then we'll see if we can apply the two pinker shades, because these were the ones that we had issues with, and see how they apply just over primer rather than foundation. All right, guys, so I am back. I just went in with a little bit of Rare Beauty primer. This is the Pore Diffusing Primer, which should smooth out my skin and not give me that patchy effect from the blush, but we're gonna prove that. And I did go in with a very light dusting of the Kosas powder just to set everything down so I don't have any dampness on my skin at all. And we're gonna try these blushes again. Over foundation, they looked beautiful. So now we're gonna test out how they look on prime skin, so something that smooths out my skin with a very light. When I say light dusting of powder, just to remove any tackiness. So I'm gonna start out with the Electric Bloom shade. We're going in with a clean breffer brush, and we're gonna pick that. Ooh, it looks patchy on the brush. Hold on now. I need a smooth coating. All right, and let's just tap that. Ooh, it is very pigmented. I gotta remove some of that, child. Ooh, okay, so it is definitely going to cling to onset skin. And I mean, again, I put a very light layer of powder down to set and remove any tackiness, but it does seem to pick up more on wet or damp skin, as you would expect, right? But I want to see if it will even out. And I mean, it is evening out. It does apply pretty nicely. It's very intense though. I mean, I kind of see some patchiness to it, but it's not really obvious. And I think if I keep blending, it will look better. So what I am kind of reading from this blush is that you should apply it over powdered skin. I'm gonna go in with the Lovestruck shade, using the other side of the brush and applying that. Okay, this is applying pretty smoothly. I don't think that, yeah, this is applying much better. All right, so what can we deduce from testing out these blushes with different application methods and different prep methods? So on bare skin and on moisturized skin, it doesn't really pick up the best. It does leave some patchiness behind, and that is what I found from the two pink shades, with Electric Bloom being the biggest culprit. The other shades kind of still have some patchiness, but they apply a little bit better. On foundation that is powdered down, set down, it applies beautifully. All of these shades apply beautifully. Of course, my little desert orchid doesn't really show up as anything but a face powder, but that's fine. We're gonna take the L on that one. But on that kind of set skin, it applies really well. And then I'm also realizing that if you apply it over powdered skin, so you have your moisturizer on, maybe you go in with a primer, but you powder your skin, it applies pretty nicely as well. So from that, I can tell you, go in with a powder to set your skin down before you go in with these powders. They're gonna pick up and get patchy in certain areas, and they don't blend as seamlessly. And that is what I deduced from this different application and testing this out. So what I'm gonna do now is apply the rest of my face and wear one of these shades for a little bit longer and see how that wears throughout the day. I'm gonna give it a few hours to see if it fades and all that. So I will be back when my face is finished. I'm not doing anything crazy today. I'm just gonna apply a very light layer of foundation. I'm gonna apply the blush, and then I will be on my way and I will check in with you guys on the wear time. Alright, so I am back and I have foundation on and I am powdered. I just have a very, very light layer of my skin tint from Fenty. I use the shade number 17, and I just set it down again with my Kosas powder, which is right here. I couldn't find it for a second. This is the Cloud Set in Pillowy. So I'm gonna go back in, like I said, with the troublesome shade. So this is Electric Bloom. This is a little bit powdery. It's getting all over the place, but we're gonna go back in with the same brush that we have been using, which is from Refer. By the way, it's been shedding since I've been using it. The bristles are going all over the place, so not loving that. But it is a nice blush brush. I like the shape of it. I love the size of it. And I like the bristle type. It is very like soft and airy, and it allows you to apply blush pretty nicely. I applied way too much just now. Oh dear. And here I am. I'm going outside, and you know what? It's for the cause. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Let's see if we can blend it back a bit. I did not mean to have it come all the way up here, so let me just remove a little bit of that just with my face brush, and that actually dulled it down pretty easily. Okay, so if you ever go overboard with this blush, you can always go in with your powder brush just to blur the edges. I think it faded it quite a bit though, so I'm just gonna pick a little bit more up and pop it on my cheeks. I am thinking it's this blush. This is the blush's fault, because this is not applying the best at all. Like, I don't like what's happening with this shade. Let me just go around the edge just a little bit more. I don't love what this shade is giving me. It's fine. Is it fine? Is it? Maybe not. Let's grab another shade, because I do want to test out the longevity. So I'm gonna grab the Paradise Venus shade, which is so far my favorite one, because it is that nudie shade that I love. And I'm just gonna pop that on. Yeah, that is giving me a lot more pigmentation. Again, I applied way too much. But you get what I'm doing here. I am applying that to test it out. And I think that color is pretty. Why am I doing that? I don't know why I'm giving you, yeah, don't mind me. Now, I also want to go in with a little bit of the Desert Orchid, just to see if it would give me like a highlight effect, because it is a satin finish, but it doesn't have a lot of color. Ooh, yeah, it gives a little highlight effect. Just right there on this. Yeah, that's cute. That's cute. So they layer well. We just layered up 3 shades. I think that is pretty. And I think that looks very subtle, right? So here you have it. This is the before we go outside. So this is the intensity that I have going on. And we're gonna see, we're gonna wear this for a few hours. Let's see. So now it is 2:46. I am watching YouTube as usual. Emily Han has a get ready with me video that I am having fun with. So here you have the blush. I think it looks very beautiful. Like, look at my cheeks. Where's that light coming from? Like, look at this. It looks pretty, right? It does look pretty. I do like the color that I was able to get from these 3 shades layered up. And now we're gonna test it out. I'm gonna probably show you what this looks like in natural daylight as well. Maybe I will look a hot mess, but we're gonna see it in natural daylight, and then I'll do the check-in, of course, to tell you how this wears. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, guys, so we're outside now, and I actually think this looks really nice in natural daylight. Mind you, it's raining, it's cloudy, there's not a lot of natural sunlight right now, but outdoors, I think it looks really pretty. So far, everything's wearing well, no issues. It looks really smooth. It's a little bit intense, but it doesn't look as intense as it did indoors. So I will check in with you in a little bit. All right, guys, so I am back, and it is 10:11. So it's been quite a few hours, right? I was out and about doing the damn thing. So here is my face at the end of all those hours. Now, the blush isn't as intense as it was when I left, but it is still there on my cheeks, and I have oily skin, so this should have worn away a bit, and I was also wearing a mask. So I am actually very happy with the wear of the blush. It faded a bit, but it didn't completely disappear, and I think that's pretty good for my oily skin. No blush really lasts all day on me, but this did pretty well. Like, you can still see it, right? After so many hours. So I think the wear time is pretty decent for this blush, and it still looks pretty good. It doesn't look patchy or anything. It just faded uniformly. So I am going to finish up my review another day. I'm going to test these out some more and then give you my final thoughts, which you guys don't have to wait a few days for because it's going to happen right now. Alright, guys, so now that you have heard all the product details, you've seen all the packaging, you've seen the swatches, and you've seen these applied to my cheeks, and you even got a little bit of a wear test, let's go ahead and wrap up with my final thoughts. So, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I like these. I don't love them. I think they're nice. They're nice, okay? But they're not so impressive that I think that $38 price point is worth it, especially since the packaging is a little bit more downplayed and it feels a little bit cheaper than her other luxurious packaging, like some of her compacts and her mothership palettes, even her lipstick packaging. Those are luxurious and just, oh, they're so beautiful. These compacts are just black plastic, and they feel very lightweight. There's nothing like special about them apart from the embossing of the rose on the inside. But like I mentioned in the intro, we've seen this from other brands and other brands that are selling blushes at a much lower price point. So $38 for this blush, it's up to you, okay? The shades are really pretty. I think the application is beautiful. I think these apply so smoothly to the cheeks. They give an airbrushed look. I did have some trouble with one shade, as you guys saw in the demonstration. When you apply this on bare skin or moisturized skin, or skin that may be slightly tacky, you will run into issues with patchiness and applying these evenly on the skin tone. But once I applied foundation and powder and set my skin down and then went in with these, they applied beautifully. I'm wearing that same shade right now, Electric Bloom, and it applied beautifully. Like, look at that. It is stunning. I do have a highlighter on as well, but it applied beautifully. It does stay well on the skin. You saw in the wear test, I wore this for hours and it looked beautiful at the end of the day. There was a little bit of fading, but nothing too crazy. Like, I still had blush on my cheeks and I really do appreciate that. And these are pretty pigmented, so if you get the richer shades, you're gonna have to be careful, be very light-handed, because a little bit will go a long way. And since you may run into issues with them not applying evenly, that means you're gonna have to go back and forth. So you wanna be a little bit careful with how you pick these up on a brush. I do like the formulation. I think it applies pretty well to the skin. The matte formulation is a little bit more on the natural matte side, so it doesn't look dry or cakey or anything. It applies really beautifully to the skin and gives this natural skin-like matte finish. As for the satin finish, I couldn't really tell because the shade that I picked up, Desert Orchid, didn't really show up on my skin tone. But the sheen that it left behind was really stunning. And I can see myself using this as like a natural highlighter because it has that beautiful sheen, but it's not too intense. It's more up my alley with the way I apply highlighter. but it's not gonna be a highlighter shade. It's not really shiny, but it just has a beautiful sheen to it. So I think if you tried out the matte version or the satin version, you will still like the formulation, because I think they performed equally, they applied really well, and I think they give a beautiful look to the skin. Overall, I like them, I just don't love them, and I don't think the formulation is so stellar. I don't think the packaging is so amazing that you have to run out and get them. Especially for a blush. Like, a blush to me is one of those products that most brands do pretty well, and you can get similar colors, similar formulations from other brands at a cheaper price point, and you may actually fall in love with those formulations a little bit more. But if you're going after it for the Pat McGrath name, then definitely go ahead and have fun, because I do think these are beautiful. I do think they apply and wear well. It's just that the price point and everything, I was just expecting it to be a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more satisfying, but it wasn't. So I can take it or leave it. I have other blushes in my collection that I love equally as much, and probably even a little bit more. So am I really impressed? No. Do I like them though? Absolutely. Do I love this color? Yes, I do. So at the end of the day, it's up to you whether or not you're willing to spend the price point for these products. Again, I think they performed pretty well. The price point is definitely a bit steep, but it's what I expected for Pat McGrath. I just wish the packaging kind of matched up with the price point, because they dumbed down the packaging but they didn't dumb down the price, and I don't like that. I don't like that feeling at all. But let me know what you guys think. Are you interested in trying these out? Have you picked any up? What are your favorite shades? Or are you skipping these all together? Let me know. I will go ahead and leave links on where you can pick them up. Those are going to be affiliate links. I'll link through the Pat McGrath website as well as Sephora.com. Again, you can get a 10% discount through the Pat McGrath website. There's always a code floating around. Plus, you can pick up trios or even the full set if you're interested at a discounted price. So I will leave the links down below. I will also leave links to my Instagram and Twitter where you should be following me along. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye, guys.